everyone, welcome to week 9. This week you will be taking exam number 2, and through this video I'm gonna go over the instructions for the exam, and I'm also going to provide a quick overview about what the exam will be about. So first, you must complete the exam by Sunday, March 18th by midnight. But you have between basically today, March 12th, and March 18th, you can take the exam at any time. And before taking the exam, it is recommended that you watch this video that you're watching, and so that you know what you can do to do better on the exam. Similar to the other exam, exam number 2 has a few multiple choice questions, but the majority of the questions are essay questions. It does not have a time limit, which means that um, you're not constrained to time. However, I recommend that you take it all at once so that your answers are saved. And then also, it is an open book exam, which means that you can refer to your textbook, videos, discussions, outside sources for the answers. And I noticed that some students didn't take advantage of this, and I will go more into detail in the next slide, in which I will discuss or provide some tips on how to do better on this exam. And this exam is worth 60 points, and it covers concepts from weeks 6, 7, and 8. So as you have probably noticed, Belerma and I finished grading the exam number 1 just last week, or Friday or Saturday, and we provided some brief feedback. The majority of you did really well, so I would like to commend you for your good work on the exam. However, some of you didn't do so well despite the fact that it is an open book test. So I would like to encourage you to take advantage of the textbook, notes, videos, etc., all the resources that you have available, because some of you are only providing your opinion, and while it is okay to provide your opinions, especially in the questions where I'm asking your opinion, you also need to support your answers with facts from the textbook, notes, or videos. And some of you are not doing that. You're only basing it on your opinion. And another tip which goes along with that is that you need to use and apply the terminology and concepts from the textbook, notes, and videos when you provide your answer, because again, some of you are only providing your answer based on your own understanding and your own opinion, but you're not tying in the concepts that we're learning in class. So for example, in the previous test, in one of the questions, I talked about Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development, and especially the term of scaffolding. And some of you explained how scaffolding worked without using terms like, for example, the more knowledgeable other, and other terminology that would go along with that. And the other recommendation that I have is that you need to fully answer all of the essay questions, because some of you are only partly answering the essay questions. So I'm taking points out of that as well, because you're not fully answering all of the questions that I'm asking. So please, read the questions carefully and make sure that you're responding fully to the questions. And even though it's not a point here, and I'm not, strictly looking for grammar, make sure that at least, that it doesn't have so many grammatical errors that is distracting for me to be able to read and grade your responses. So again, please review the feedback that I gave you for your exam. It is under the comments. You should probably have received an email with the comments. And like I said, the majority of you did really well, but some of you um, lost many points because of the reasons that I um, included here. And I'm gonna quickly go over some of the concepts that will be on the test. I will only go over the concepts that I believe you didn't really understand based on your responses of the discussion forum. And on week number 6, as you remember, we covered the topics of mate selection and in the textbook, and also in the lecture we talked about mate selection, marriages, ecology of birth and birthing processes, and parenting. And during that week, we also had two guest speakers, Bolerma, RTA, and Omegan. She's a PhD student at UC Denver. And they both spoke about experiences with these concepts in their own cultures. And like I said, the textbook also provided several examples from various countries and research, cross-cultural research that has been done. So please review those as you start working on the exam. So, the mate selection spoke about how individuals go about selecting a mate in different cultures, and the different types of marriages in different countries, including arranged versus marriages that are not arranged. And Omegan also spoke about her own experience. And then ecology of birth and birthing practices. Again, Bolerma and Omegan also spoke about that. And then also about parenting. And I think my major concern was in week 9. Based on the discussion forums, it didn't really seem that the majority of you understood the concepts for week 7, or you got them confused. So on week 7, based on the textbook readings from Rogov, and the concepts included the criticisms of cognitive tests and the differences in learning and cognitive test results between schooled and non-school individuals. And specifically, it talked about how cognitive tests many times focus or are more relevant to what someone from the Western Western countries or societies would learn in school, as opposed to what someone who is from a different culture or who hasn't been schooled might learn informally. So it criticized how cognitive tests might not actually measure other types of intelligence. It may only measure, the type of intelligence or knowledge that someone would learn in school, and specifically someone coming from, Western society cultures. And it also talked about like I said, non-school individuals and how their learning is different, specifically about their way of classifying information and how it is different, and also in terms of memory. About how with both classification and memory, people who have not been schooled, like with memory, they remember more specific tasks that are relevant or functional to what they do, as opposed to just random facts. And they're able to classify information in a different way, so that they're able to memorize information that is not relevant to their daily tasks. And during week 7, it also covered Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development, and specifically, it spoke about how some of the tasks that are used for or to measure or to see where children are in the developmental stages of Jean Piaget, they are more relevant again to the Western cultures, and may not include tasks that are relevant for different cultures around the world. And sometimes, when researchers are trying to measure the cognitive development, if they're not properly measuring or using tasks that are relevant to the culture, it may affect the results of the children, showing results that will be biased to other cultures. And also in week 7, it talked about guided participation and specific ways of or types of guided participation. And when I read the discussion forums, some of you didn't get it right, because when I asked about the two types of guided participation, some of you included memory and classification, and that's not relevant to what I was asking. So specifically, the readings talked about the two main types of guided participation include mutual bridging of meanings and mutual structuring. And the mutual bridging of meanings, it refers to when children seek information from the expression of others for learning purposes. Or, we also refer to it as social referencing. And I provided some examples through videos, and the videos included the visual cliff experiment, the baby laughing when they saw, or when the baby saw her parents laughing, and then also learning language by observing. And so again, this one focuses more specifically on seeking information or learning from the expression of others. And the other one is mutual structuring. And this type of guided participation is structuring opportunities to observe and participate. And these include, direct interactions, listening to narratives or folk tales, and practicing and role playing. And we spoke about how parents either limit or give access to the type of learning they want their children to learn. And then also how in some countries they allow or their children to or give access to different types of learning, such as starting a fire, and that wouldn't be coming in the US. In the US, perhaps growing up, your parents gave you access to, for example, learning how to cook or doing the chores, because they would allow you to do that with them. And then Rogoff also talks about other distinctive forms of guided participation, including academic lessons in the family, talk, that's eternity, gestures and gaze, and intimate participation in community activities. So for this one, we spoke about how, for example, some cultures allow their children to participate in community activities, such as, participating in the activities of the community. There was also a video on this in which Rogoff spoke, and she gave an example in which children were helping to carry water, and they were helping in the daily tasks of the community. And then also I included some videos, and for example, in which children are standing behind the adults and they're watching them dancing, and they're also, dancing themselves. So, they're participating in the activities of the community. Finally, for week 8, the concepts that were learned included language acquisition, cross-cultural research testing for Piaget's stages of cognitive development, fluid and then also concepts such as fluid and crystallized intelligence and language and communication in later life. And I think most of you did really well on the discussion forums, and it seems like there were no complications in understanding these concepts. So again, thank you so much for your efforts, and you're halfway through the course, and also just wanted to remind you that next week you have a spring break. So I really hope that you enjoy the break, and let me know if you have any particular questions.